So I'm Gemma Sampson. I'm an advanced sports dietitian, and today I'm chatting with Hayden McCormick about his experiences with nutrition during some ultra cycling races. And so you just won the Tuatara. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Yes, you just won that a couple of days ago. And yeah, like I'd love to hear about what you did with food in that event and how that differed to Badlands a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I guess the thing you have to remember in the ultras, it's like nothing's ever an ideal situation. So if you had someone following you in the car, you'd eat completely different and do everything a lot different. Because there's a few problems with it. One is like obviously you don't know each day exactly how long you're going to ride and how you feel, how tired you are, the conditions, and also at what time you'll pass through town. So for example, you could be a big city, be like, sweet, I can get like everything there, and then you pass at like 10 o'clock at night and everything's closed, and you're like, the next one's like 200 k's away, and 200 k's on a gravel bike on gravel with all your stuff is like like 14 hours. Like it's just a long time, so you can get into trouble pretty easily without like with running out of food. So I sort of try and obviously start like fully, like Herbie fully loaded, just like the bags, just chocker. And obviously something like this, I try and eat as much savory as I can, just because you just get so over like, like sweet stuff. But I always take like 10 better fuels for like backup, because it's always pretty easy to find water. And at least you've got something, like even if you're hungry, it's at least you've got some carbs going in.
So you carry like just like a couple of packets, or like how many would you sort of have as like your backup?
Like 10, because the event's so long. Like it's it's like, I don't know what I did it in, like 60 something hours. It's just like if you think of like normal nutrition and you want to take like 60 grams an hour or something, it's just impossible to, one, carry that, and two, your stomach's already like working pretty hard, and there's a lot going on. So yeah, obviously it's not ideal world, but you basically I basically just like stop at we call them dairies. They're like little basically mini supermarkets. And I pretty much just buy the whole store. Like, I just get everything. But one big mistake I have made is on the first day in the Tuatara, I got like a big bag. I love red licorice.
Yeah.
So I got like a big bag of that and some lollies, just to like, I've got like a little food pouch that I just sort of like, I don't eat them all at once, but I just kind of like nibble away.
Yeah.
And but it, like, I don't know, you'd know what it did, but it did something to my mouth, and it was just like, my tongue was like weird.
Or maybe like the chemicals or the flavors or the colors or something.
Yeah. And then so for like the next 2 days, I was just like, oh, this is average. But yeah, I don't really know what to say what I eat, because I kind of just, there's no sort of right answer. It's just like, if I was at a shop and they had like bananas, I'd eat like 3 of them straight away, so I don't have to carry them. And then we have these bars called 1 square meals, and they're kind of like a pimped out muesli bar with like heaps of calories and heaps of carbs, and they taste like cardboard, but they're kind of like, you stop caring after a while. It's like food just becomes fuel.
Yeah.
And you kind of you kind of just resign to the fact that you have to keep eating, basically.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like I think sometimes I see people trying to go too healthy in like these sorts of races, and like you say, like the calories and getting enough fats in is the most important thing. So sometimes you go for more simple stuff that you wouldn't eat every day normally in training, I guess.
So I think there's a couple of things there. Like, one is when you do an ultra, you go through like a lot of like highs and lows with like for no real reason other than you're just tired. And I think if you have some sort of morale food, it is actually super good. You're like, oh, it's not so bad for a bit. And I had like I think it was like 9 pies throughout that thing, like a meat pie.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to do, and I was like craving something savory, and lots of the times there just wasn't much. So I just get like 2 pies at a time, and just because they're obviously like you don't want to put a pie in your bag and finish, I just eat 2, and then like have all the other stuff like I could take with me in my bag. But I think the thing people have to get their head around with these things, it's just you're not in an ideal situation. You just sort of resign to the fact like you need to stop basically every opportunity you can and always be topped up. And then I guess the easiest thing to get wrong would be dehydration, because I think in Badlands, me and Lockie were lucky because we just committed to taking a camelback and 3 bottles on the bike, because we're like, well, what's one thing that can like kill us? Like no water. So because that was the tricky part about Badlands, was there was times there was no water for a long time. And I think like in that one we saw a lot of people pull out early just because they just didn't have water.
Yeah, I know. There was a pretty high scratch rate there.
Whereas New Zealand's like pretty easy to find water. You can always go to like a school or like someone's house and like use their hose. And yeah, and sort of you're more like in this one I was more worried about where I could stop for food. And the other thing is like I don't study.
You're more worried in New Zealand about food.
Yeah, just because of like everything where we were riding, it's like there's a few big cities, but then the rest of them sort of like after 5 o'clock there might be one cafe in the town, and if you're not there, there's no food. So for example, the last day from I think I went without food for like 250k.
Oh,
Like
really?
from my last stop up, which was like a whole day of riding. And luckily like I had heaps, but I was like I just assumed one of the next towns would have something, and just no one did. And then you sort of see like your morale just starts going down and down and down. You kind of like start to get to that point when you're like this could just be I could be out.
So you rode 250 without eating anything?
No, I had like the food in my bags,
Oh,
but
you couldn't collect and you couldn't refill and restock.
Yeah, I couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
But in Badlands, I did do like 9 hours of no food. I had to eat figs off the side of the road. It was like fig trees and like something else. Maybe like some other kind of plant. And I was like full Bear Grylls, just like just getting everything off the street. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if someone was to do one and they asked me what to eat, I'd kind of just say like it almost doesn't matter. As long as like you don't want to be eating sweet stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And you obviously want to get like a good amount of carbs and fat in. Because I just don't think you can eat enough on these things.
No, I don't. Like I say, I don't think you can. It's like I remember asking when I was working with some riders doing Race Across America, and then I was speaking to a researcher about it, and he's like, "It doesn't matter what you eat, as long as you get enough calories in, because there's going to be a deficit. And it's like an eating race. You just got to keep eating and keep getting those calories in, and wherever it comes from, it doesn't matter."
Yeah, I think I always try and like get like if you could stop at a cafe and get like in an ideal world, get like I don't know, like scrambled eggs and then like a baguette, that'd be great. Because like at least it's something like with some nutritional value.
Yeah.
Because like you can eat anything, but also like I'd rather have like quite high carbs and just eat like like a pie. But yeah, again, it's just like sort of what you can get your hands on. But
you're saying about like favoring salty, savory sort of stuff. So like what other things did you go for or did you find useful other than like the pies?
Well, in hindsight, I should have got some creamed rice at the dairies because I forgot they had that there. Like creamed rice would have been the one. But like for stuff you can get on the road, pikelets.
Oh, yeah.
I had some of them, like little pancakes.
Yeah.
They were good. And then just the only other really stuff I had was just if like the one cafe that was open for me. I had like French toast and then poached eggs on toast, and that was just like heaven.
Yeah, it's like real food, finally.
Yeah. Because the only other thing is too with like the whole calorie thing, like I committed to like not taking a sleeping bag or a bivy bag, not really by choice, just because the stuff I ordered hadn't turned up, and then the sleeping bag I had was like a kilo, and I was like, oh, I've already got so much stuff, and I like kind of wanted to try it without it, but it was a mistake. I was like pissing down with rain the whole first night, and I just had a puffer jacket that got soaked, and then so obviously then you're like shivering, just burning more calories, and then I only slept for like 20 minutes that night, but I just like, like those little goat houses on the side of the road, like the little pins.
Yeah.
I just like kicked the goat out of his house, and he's like slept there for 20 minutes. And I woke up, I like it's so cold that it's like you just have to keep moving and eating.
Yeah.
Like the whole time, it's sort of like the only job you have is to move and eat. But
It's like one of the things I often say to people is like, okay, practice in your training sessions, go to a petrol station and like, okay, you got 5 minutes, what can you grab, what can you find? And
that's a good practice.
yeah.
Because that like you're so tired, you're not thinking straight. So
Yeah.
you go in there and you kind of just like, and you're actually at the point you're sick of food
Yeah.
because that's all you've been doing. Like nothing really appeals to you, and you kind of walk in and you're like a zombie, just like it's like grabbing stuff like
If
this.
you have like a list of like 5-6 things,
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm always gonna buy if there's bread, cheese, bananas, chocolate, chips, like tuna, like whatever I get it, and then it's in the bag.
That would be a good idea. I think the one thing too I always get is I always try and have like a lot of Snicker bars in the bag, just because if worst comes to the worst, you've always got them there, and they're like pretty good for the morale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like stuff that's not hard to eat on the bike too. Like I always try and now I'm sort of coming back to me with the stuff I eat now. I was always getting muffins as well,
Yeah.
and then just leaving them in the bag. But I think from like a sports nutrition side of things, like probably after the race is more important than the days before, just because like for a few days you kind of have like very little to any nutritional value going in. So it's sort of like, afterwards and before you need to be pretty tip top.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, what sort of foods did you then crave after when you finished them?
What did I feel like? Um, I actually just felt like a lot of vegetables and like chicken. I don't know why. I just just again, just savory stuff.
Yeah, probably like
Um,
I don't want
like,
carbs. I don't really want carbs. I don't really want like fat. Like just give me vegetables and make
like
it plain.
maybe like a roast meal would be like the dream to finish on. Um, yeah, but it's a hard one. Like it's actually like the last two I've done of these, I've been like so unorganized going into it, like really really last minute. But if I actually like sat down now, it'd be interesting to see like if I did another one, sort of like what the plan would be. But it's just so hard because every country is different. They have different food. They have different shops. They have different hours.
And like you
So
say,
it's
you
kind of
can't. There's things that you just can't plan for because you might be like, oh yeah, there's a supermarket there. I'm gonna get there on time, and then you get there and you're like, yeah, we're on holidays. We're closed.
yeah, exactly. And it just breaks your heart when it happens. um, yeah, it's. I'd say Badlands was definitely harder for food and water.
Yeah, because did you go in like you say you hadn't planned it that much, but then did you go in with like carrying a day's worth of food more or less, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Like pretty much had like a day's worth of food, but I was like consuming it at a higher rate than I thought.
Was that because you were
That's
hungry or like because you're
I was
bored
like,
or?
I don't know, I was just felt genuinely hungry. But like I was like asking like because he's done a few like what do you normally take, man? He's like, I don't know, bro, just like whatever. And he's like more unorganized than me. And he goes to the supermarket, he's just getting like digestive biscuits and Snickers. And I'm like, I don't know if I copy him or not. But yeah, I think it's honestly just like, as long as you're eating enough and you plan having enough water and stuff like that and electrolytes. Yeah, because there's two good things about electrolyte tabs. Is one, they make the water taste better if you like fill up from like a stream or something.
Yeah.
And then two, like you just need them, I think, for that distance. Like, because you're basically, the way I did it, I was basically working like 23-to-1 ratio, like 23 hours on, 1 hour off, which is a lot of time for like your body to be moving.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
and especially if you're in the desert with Badlands and you're sweating loads as well. So you'll get some of that from the foods that you're eating, especially if you're getting more of those salty things. But yeah, you'll be sweating a lot. And if you're drinking a lot, then you end up with a bit of an imbalance there.
Yeah, it would be super interesting to, like, I wish I could have wrote down like everything I ate and drank for this last one. But you honestly stop caring like pretty soon, like pretty early on. Just like you have this. I had this idea. I just like write down everything I eat, but you kind of end up in a rush, you know. And you're so tired. You don't want to be on your like trying to like type everything out and
yeah, especially when you're sleep deprived, you're only
interesting.
getting like little like pockets of sleep.
Yeah, it'd be super interesting to see like how like the calorie deficit, you know. Because like the training stress score for these things is like 3,000, which is insane.
Do you find yourself
But,
like that you're super hungry for days afterwards?
yeah, you are pretty hungry. More like if like I went for a recovery ride yesterday. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to hunger bonk. Just because, yeah, you're obviously like so depleted. Um, but it's a funny one because like even though you've done something like that, like even like yesterday, I was like, "Oh, I feel like I'm just eating too much now, you know, like am I just being a pig?" But I think you just need it for a few days. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, because how, like, when you're doing like the races, like the road races and stuff, like, what are you eating then? Like, I'm guessing this is quite different to what you're eating on the road races.
Yeah. I normally just aim for like the kind of standard like 60 grams an hour. But to be honest, I really like racing on like better fuel and stuff now, just because I know one bottle is basically an hour and then you kind of don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah.
But I think I definitely prefer to eat like more solid food early.
Yeah.
And then sort of like save the jars and stuff. But
Yeah.
But just I guess like sort of your standard cyclist, like nothing crazy, you know, just the normal gels, bars, rice cakes. What else? Yeah, because the other thing I was thinking during these races, you know, like if you do a race or a training, you have a gel. Like I've never had a gel and thought like I feel great, like but like I've done, you know, when you do a ride and you have like a Snickers and a Coke,
Yeah.
and you're like, and I'm sending it home now, and I'm like, there's got to be something in that. Like, I don't know if it's like the morale side of things or if it's just like that somehow that nutrition's good for you at that time.
Well, it's like, I mean, I suppose you get in like the caffeine and it was like with the Coke, I don't know if you've done it before, but like diluting it like kills the bubbles. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like,
I've never really done that, but I've heard of people doing that.
honestly, I was very doubtful, but it actually does. And I've done it before where I've like sculled half the Coke and then poured the rest in my bottle because I didn't want to drink the rest of it. And 50 Coke and water is really palatable. It's like it's you think that's going to taste really weird, but it was actually quite easy to drink, especially at the end of like if you've been doing a really long ride and you don't want anything super sweet. So that is a pretty good one. But yeah, I think it's definitely, you can't underestimate the whole mood food thing. And when you're sleep deprived and your probably emotions are kind of like all over the place at times if you're that tired, anything that's going to give you that little like perk, is definitely, and then
It's
like
funny
who,
because
I think anyone
I
that says they
really,
enjoy eating gels is crazy.
yeah, because I like really, I'm not a fan of like McDonald's in general. And then like that first night, I just found myself craving like a bacon and egg McMuffin, like
Yeah.
for aid, you know, and just like for hours, you like have this food you just like want,
Yeah.
and then you don't get it. But yeah,
They're
that's
like,
kind of,
can I go through drive-through on my bike? Will they give me?
oh, the worst part's like embarrassing because you smell so bad and you're just in this state, man. Like people, and like you forget that everyone's just doing their normal life. And
Yeah.
you're just kind of like rolling around just like an absolute mongrel, and they're just like taking everything. Like I was spending like $70 a stop just going nuts. And then I'd like eat something, I'd be like, "Oh, like I reckon I got too much now." Yeah. It's
I suppose when you, if especially like things like Badlands, where you've got that fear of like, I don't know when I'm going to get food again, sort of then eating like, quick, this could be my last meal for like another 12 hours.
yeah, I found myself too after doing this, like everyone says like, bro, why are you eating so quick? I just like scoff my food because I'm just in this rush for a while because I keep thinking I'm like racing. But in Badlands, I went to this like, I wouldn't call it a restaurant, just like this little dive. And I had like a rusted chain because I didn't take enough lube, and I was like trying to ask him if I could buy some olive oil,
Yeah.
but like my Spanish ain't great. And then he just brought out like this plate of olives, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, that'll do. But yeah, it's pretty funny the situations you end up in. Um, the only other thing I'd recommend is having like some kind of fail safe in your bag. Like if you ended up like desperately hungry, something that's just almost just like a bomb of like calories, you know, that can get you to like the next place. But
So kind of like that you're saying
what
that
might be, I don't know.
the backup beta fuel.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah, but I mean maybe something solid. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely like it's an untapped market for sports nutrition now I think about it, like a big savory calorie bar.
I know there really isn't very many things.
There's
Like I
not
was
much.
experimenting a couple months ago trying to make like a Vegemite flatback. I love Vegemite, like a flapjack with like Vegemite and cheese, and it sort of worked, but it wasn't salty enough. And so
Yeah,
like there are some things on the market, but they still usually are too sweet.
yeah, because even like a peanut butter sandwich would be ideal, or yeah, Vegemite Marmite sandwich, but it's just like you're gonna carry around like a tub of peanut butter. That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Another one I found works well is like roast potatoes. And I've done it before where I stopped at a restaurant, I think got a burger and then didn't realize the burger came with chips and ordered like potatoes as well. And so then I was like, just put them in a bag. And so had the roast potatoes for breakfast and then for the ride the next day. So they because then they're salty. I think I added more salt onto them, but then they fit in your pocket or fit in a bag. They don't end up being too messy, but then they definitely hit the salty carb sort of bracket.
yeah, yeah, nice. I think the only other important thing is because like you're really not thinking straight and you can do dumb stuff. Is like having one bag that's just committed to like nutrition, and then always knowing how much is left.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before when I'm like, oh, like I'm going good here, and just like smacking back the bars and stuff, and then like go to grab another one, you're like, oh shit, there's none left.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's like just having that understanding of like I might need to like almost like pace out the eating for this next like 200k or 100k, whatever it might be, until you can get to a shop or whatever.
I think the other one I've heard people doing a lot is when they're rolling into a town, especially if they know that things are open in that town, is that they're sort of eating everything in the bag that's left before they get to the town, so then they can just put everything straight into the bag.
That's a risk though, in case the shops are closed.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's a risky. It could work, but it might also work against you.
Yeah, yeah, nice. But it's funny, like that hearing some of the stories from like the people that come in, you know, everyone's got like the funniest stories.
Yeah.
And like yeah, everyone does it differently, and everyone packs their bags differently and has different bikes. It's actually just whatever works for you.
Exactly. I think that's the thing with a lot of sports nutrition is like, okay, well, just because it works for another person doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but you can always give it a shot and you can try it, then test out, try it. Like it might be, this works great for 1 day, but 2 days, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like your red licorice, I'm pretty sure you're probably not going to eat the whole bag of red licorice in a day.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I did that yesterday again. I was just going past. I really like red licorice. I was just going past the shop, and I'm like, oh. And I started eating it. I'm like, oh, this is just like post-traumatic stress. But I'm still gonna.
Too many bad memories here.
Yeah.
Nice one.
But no, it's the other thing that people don't realize about some of these is like, because your bike's so heavy, and like this one I did was 16,000 meters climbing the Tuatara, so there's like a lot of hills, and they're all on gravel. So you actually, like, people think you just plotter away at like endurance. I was like, dude, no, you don't. You, like, to get up these hills, you're going like,
pretty
I
hard.
didn't have power meter on, but you're like, there's definitely some you're like over 500 watts. Like you're going hard to get up, and then so it's not just like you're in that fat burning state the whole time. It's like it's actually pretty surgy, and then you kind of like get up the hill and then like cruise on, so there's also that element to it as well. It's not just like you're just riding along at like 200 watts for 2 days. It's like, it's very like, to get up the hill you have to go hard, which obviously like depletes you a lot more than just riding around steady.
That's, I suppose, that whole thing where you're needing both. You can't just rely on one or the other.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I don't know if anyone does these things like fat adapted, but even then, I mean, if you're fully fat adapted, it'd be great, but I think to get to that point would just be too hard.
Yeah, I think it also then comes down to whether you're doing it for like speed, and because that's the thing with the whole fat adaptation. It's great for ultra endurance, but not necessarily for the speed and the intensity side of things. That's where it can come undone a bit.
Yeah, because even if you did it with that perspective, like getting fat foods could be hard doing one of these, like it's
I've been on a training camp with a keto athlete before, and just you're looking at them eating for breakfast like boiled eggs and olive oil and avocado, and sausages, and you're like, okay, this is making my stomach turn at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, like, okay, but on the road, like, how are you going to get all those foods? You do have to think really practically about, is this feasible? Is this going to work for me?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That makes sense.
Awesome. Any last words of wisdom for anyone wanting to do ultra cycling races?
Don't.
Don't.
No, they are like the greatest thing ever. Like once you're finished, but you do actually just go through hell for like a few days, like the nighttime ride.
Mental like damage.
Like I don't know. I think just don't try and train for it too much. I think like I've never trained like for one of these things, like, because what are you gonna do? Go out and ride like 600k each day, like, and just enjoy it and be smart with the bag packing, the nutrition, take sleeping gear, unlike me.
Because how many kilos did your bags weigh in the end?
I think at a guess, I'd say probably like 10 to 15. Probably 15 kilos, plus the bike's like pretty heavy already. Because you got lights, you got power banks, you've got like all your tools, like all that kind of stuff. And then you go and put like I only had 4. I had 4 bottles on the bike. Always, just because like
So quickly, it pretty quick comes up to like 30 kilos.
Yeah, exactly. And then you hop on it and you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, you very soon stop caring about the weight of your bike. Like you go in with this like cyclist mindset, like, oh, how can I make this lighter? And then like shit starts getting real out there and you really do not care.
Yeah, you're like, where is my jacket? Where is that sleeping bag that I didn't pack?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, great having a chat with you.
Cool, thank you.